Hello. Hello, this is the My Artifact episode number 3776. Today's date is December 23, 2025. It's been almost like night at 9:58 p.m. Alright, let's just jump into the question. Alright, the question is, what if emotion were visible as auras? Okay, first of all, what exactly is this question and why am I asking this question to myself? This is what if question. Why am I asking this question to myself? What if question is always really interested way to give the answer. It kind of like a force you to think about that reality. When I try to think about that reality, or when I try to create this reality, I'm kind of like utilizing my knowledge and information experience that I've been through, and somehow it kind of like felt good. Disclaimer, the information that I'm trying to tell you is not exactly right, or is not exactly wrong either. It's raw, it's unfiltered, it's just my opinion. So do not believe in any kind of like information that I am saying, or do not seek for any kind of like information that I am saying. It's just my opinion, and opinion are subjective. Now regarding about the question says that what if emotion were visible as auras? Now what is exactly auras? Auras means like a kind of like a something. I don't know how do I supposed to explain this thing. Okay, yeah. Aura is a kind of like a something that keep I am trying to explain. I'm not really sure am I right or not. Okay, have you ever experienced that the person who is a kind of like a very much popular in your group, when that particular person came into that group, everyone are kind of like a really happy or things and that. Okay, yeah. It's kind of like a simply aura. Like every person kind of like a simply express his kind of like a simply action through a kind of like a simply a very different thing. I don't know how do I supposed to explain this. Like in our friend group, in my friends group, there is a one person who has a kind of like a simply very significant aura. Okay, yeah. When he came, entire everyone are kind of like a light up. Okay, yeah. This is called kind of like a simply aura. All right. Now the question is that can aura is visible? Well, aura is not visible. It's a kind of like a simply a feeling, a kind of like a simply experience. It's a kind of like a simply this thing that we just felt something really different than normal. Okay, yeah. Example is this thing that let's just say you are kind of like a somebody working in office, and suddenly chairman came. Okay, yeah. So when the chairman came from your cabin, like not to meet you, but kind of like a pass through, like basically imagine a kind of like a chairman who is kind of like a passing through the cabin. Okay, yeah. Then suddenly everyone kind of like a feel the aura of chairman, or maybe like a suddenly is this thing, like imagine that you are in a classroom and suddenly headmaster came, everyone are kind of like a became quieter. Okay, yeah. So this is called kind of like a simply aura. It's not a aura in kind of like a some certain way. It's a kind of like a simply this thing that I don't know, like our action or our perspective or our like a thought process or our, I don't know how do I supposed to explain this thing. Our things are changed when that particular person kind of like a came into your life or came into something. So yeah. Why this is so much horn is actually happening. I don't know why there is so much horn. It's a kind of like a train horn, probably. Whatever. Okay, so what was I trying to tell you? Okay, yeah. Okay, so what if aura, like aura is not visible from my point of perspective, but I'm not really sure, because in this particular question, the kind of like it represent that your emotion as visible as auras, means like that from question point of perspective, auras might be a visible, and that's I'm not kind of like simply understanding how does aura is kind of like simply visible. But still I could kind of like simply imagine that ki you are glowing, probably might be a from question point of perspective, like you are glowing. Okay, yeah. Now in reality, glowing means kind of like a simply represent as a kind of like a simply fair skin or things or that and that, right? But we just kind of like a replace that thing. A glowing means like legitly you are kind of like a emitting some sort of amount of light from you. Okay, yeah. And that light is kind of like a represent emotion of you. Okay, yeah. Let's just say you are angry, so you are kind of like a turning red, right? Or if you are kind of like a lie, then you might be a purple. Okay, yeah. If you are kind of like a somebody very peaceful, then you are kind of like a somebody lit up bright. If you are kind of like a really sad, then you are kind of like a somebody gray or black or things like that. If you are kind of like a really happy or things like a kind of like a somebody is this thing, then uh, orangish, orangish kind of like something orange red, something like that. Okay, if you are in love, then you are glowing as a kind of like a pink or kind of like a something like that. Emotion doesn't really have any color, but we kind of like a associate emotion through this color. Like a love represent red, oh, as well as kind of like a pink too. Okay, yeah. The every emotion doesn't really have a kind of like a standardized things, but there are completely one color or kind of like a set. Like a love represent red and pink. We does not kind of like a somebody see a love in a kind of like a yellow. No, it's not. Okay, so this is what it is, probably. So imagine a particular world where kind of like a people who are glowing because of emotions and things like that, and each emotion has a kind of like a different color and things like that. So what if this thing is actually happened? People might gonna know that what exactly you are feeling. If you are sad and if you are say that I'm fine, people will gonna realize that you are not fine because of you are glowing something very differently. Okay, yeah, your emotion kind of like a tell us everything. In concert everyone are really happy, so kind of like a some places think that everyone are kind of like a bright up orangish and kind of like a red and things. Okay, yeah, red represent angry, but it also represent that energy too. Okay, yeah. uh if you are fall in love, you are kind of like a little bit pinkish or things like that. If you are really hungry, you might be represent little bit of yellow and things like that. Okay, yeah. So our emotions might not be kind of like a something. Your emotions can be visible to the everyone, and people will gonna realize what kind of like a feel that you are feeling right now. Okay, yeah. um Possibly is this thing that key, if like we can't able to hide our emotions, so we just have to do a training to how do I supposed to hide our emotions and things like that. Because in some part of work really required to hide our emotions, like let's just say if you are kind of like a simply doing a, such a work like a let's just say a secret police officer or things or that and that. In this particular context, yeah, whatever. I don't know, at this moment now I am not really wanting to record artifact because I don't know. Am I tired? No, I'm not really tired, but it's just like that. Now, this question, I kind of like a give kind of like a very vividly explanation in multiple kind of like a this question. Like a basically, like a previously, there are a couple of question are kind of like a represent that what if emotion has a color and things and that, and I kind of like explain it very much properly and things and that. So I think that na ki I shouldn't supposed to be explain this question even more further. It's kind of like as equivalent to as I already explained this question, somewhat something. Whatever, this is it. I should supposed to be end here. And thank you.